welcome to Aired Out, brought to you by Capitol Showplace Montpelier and Paramount Theater Barre. At FGBtheaters.com, CW Print and Design in Barre, at CWPrintDesign.com, Peak Entertainment, PeakDJ.com, Cruise Planners, your land and cruise experts. In Vermont, CruisePlanners.com, Donnybrook Fight Promotions of Williamstown, CBDCrave.com. Presented by CVTV, Public Access Channel 192 and 194, CVTV723.org, Fontaine Forestry and Millworks, Route 14 East Montpelier. Custom orders, rough, kiln dry, plain, tongue and groove, or shiplap. FontaineMillworks.com and Fly on the Wall Productions. Now, let's get aired out. We have a absolutely gorgeous Monday afternoon going on right now. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm J.D. Green. Welcome to Aired Out. I have a very special guest right next to me in the studio here at Central Vermont Television, CVTV, on Main Street here in Barre. This is Chief Dodge from the Barre Town Police Department. I have to say, first off, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here, and congratulations on becoming the chief.
Thank you.
When was that, by the way? Not too long ago, right?
2 years ago, July.
2 years ago. Wow, it happens fast.
It does.
So where is Chief Stevens? Now, what happened?
He retired.
Okay.
After 30 years.
Yeah.
About 26 of those as chief. I'm beginning to wonder how he made it 26 years as the chief, but good for him. So he retired from the town, and he's now working for the Lamoille County Sheriff's.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, doing security in the courthouse here in Washington County.
Yeah. I've seen him over there a couple of times.
I have as well.
Interesting guy.
Very happy.
Yes.
He's very happy. We're all very happy for him.
Yeah. So I have to say, I was up at the Barrytown Recreation Fields a couple of weekends ago for the Spring into Summer Festival that they had up there, and your department was well represented. You guys look like top brass up there. You looked very good.
Thank you.
A lot of from the ambulance to the police and fire and everybody else. You guys looked real sharp. So let's begin by saying I haven't known you that long. I would say maybe 5-6 years, somewhere in that ballpark. Yeah. Ever since maybe the beginning of Cause for Pause.
Yes.
The Pet Expo that I started up. Yeah. We met then. How did you become a police officer? What's your story? Is there military background?
No, there isn't. Actually, I wanted to fly helicopters in the military, but couldn't because of a back issue that I have. I had done volunteer firefighting ever since I was about 15.
Yeah.
So I ended up in college in New Hampshire for firefighting. And one of the classes that I took was arson investigation, and found that interesting. Decided I wanted to do arson investigation. In Vermont, all the arson investigators that can arrest people and have arrest powers are through the state police. So that kind of led me down the law enforcement path. I left there. I went to Champlain College for law enforcement after I got my fire science degree. While I was there, I started working part-time for the police department, and never left.
Wow. So how many years are we talking about?
23.
23 years?
Yeah, started in 96.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's your story from there? You got, which police department did you begin with?
Barrytown.
With
I
Barrytown?
started in Barrytown in 96, yeah.
In 96?
Yeah.
Wow. And you've held on long enough, and
yeah, I started part-time in 96. About 6 months later, I went into a temporary full-time position, and about 6 months after that, I was hired permanent full-time, and I've been there ever since.
Wow. What do you think the toughest part of being a police officer? I know I'm throwing some curveballs at you here, but what's been your most challenging part of being a police officer?
There's 100 of them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
In my current position, I would say the toughest thing is trying to find people to fill the positions.
Really?
Yep. I mean, if you go on the Police Academy website, you'll see 30 police departments in Vermont that are hiring. Many of them are hiring for multiple positions.
Wow.
Yep. We're slotted for 8 full-time people, including me, and we're down 2. full-time guys right now.
You're down full-time.
2, yeah.
Wow. So what's involved with that? How much, I mean, do you have to have a degree in criminal justice or?
You don't have to have a degree. You need to pass both a written test, a psychological test, and a physical fitness test in order to get into the full-time academy, which is a residential academy, 4 months long in Pittsford. So,
Wow.
yeah, so you live right down there. You come home on the weekends, but you live down there Monday through Friday, and you come home on the weekends for 4 months. And after that, there's a fairly extensive field training period where you ride with one of the field training officers, and they teach you the tricks of the trade.
Really? Yep. And then from there, it's?
From there, you're kind of kicked out on your own, in your own car, working your own shift, and so forth. I mean, the training never stops. I mean, I am huge on training. We, several years ago, we more than doubled our training budget for the police department. And I told them when I interviewed for the chief's job that the one section of the budget that I would never make an effort to come in under was training. And I haven't. We spend that money. We send them to everything that we can. Out-of-state training, in-state training, whatever we can find.
Wow. Let's talk about something that's been in the news an awful lot lately. I'm not really sure why. It just seems like I've been seeing more and more of these stories popping up, as I know you have, is officer suicide, police suicide. It seems like I thought I saw the same story twice last week, and I realized that they were two separate stories.
Yeah.
It seems like, and we can't hide anything now on social media, but it just seems like there's more and more police suicide.
There is. I think, like you said, I think part of that is it's a topic that more people are aware of now. I think it's publicized more, but I also think the numbers are definitely increasing.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I wish I had that answer. I know that lots of departments are taking extra steps to ensure, the mental well-being of their officers, and
Really?
I think it's helping. I'm big on both your physical fitness and your mental fitness as well. So, we have a physical fitness program in the police department, and we also, through the League of Cities and Towns, have access to the Employees Assistance Program. So I encourage my folks to call them, and it's not just and they can help you with anything. They can help you with anything from maybe you're having difficulty with your bills, and they can direct you to somebody that can help you, get that squared away, get on track with a plan to pay your bills, or maybe it's something that's going on at home. It doesn't have to be work related, but as you know, problems at home and problems outside of work come to work with you, just like
Sure.
problems from work go home with you. So.
Of course. Yeah. Well said. With a police officer, I would imagine that, especially if you're starting up a family, you get married, the house, everything, the kids, everything's happening at once. It can be very overwhelming. And you combine that with a high pressure job, or a job that can have some sudden high pressure involved with it. And there's a level of expectation that, that you should meet. We tend to mask a lot of, I'm good all the time, when we're not.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I think we had the folks from the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, come to one of our staff meetings, and before I introduced them, I asked all my guys, all my people, if they felt there was still a stigma behind, I don't want to say admitting, asking for help. And there is. It's getting better, I think, but it is. People are afraid. They're afraid to ask for help because they're afraid of what people are going to think of them. They're afraid of what's going to happen to my job, and that kind of thing. And it's not, mental well-being, physical well-being, everything else after that.
Yeah, especially if there's, any kind of chatter that's going around, if so and so asked for help and 6 months later they lost their job, or it's just not worth it. I mean, you get chatter like that. That's not good and not accurate most of the time.
That's true.
Once again, you get social media combined with it. It's just not a good combination at all.
I agree.
So you gotta keep moving. You gotta stay active, and you must be very dialed into your police officers.
I try to be.
Yeah,
I try to be. And I heard one of the other officers refer to our police department as a small family, a second family.
Sure.
Which is great, because that's the way I want it. I have 2 other supervisors. Ben Hammond is a corporal. You saw him at the festival.
Sure.
Paul Thayer is a sergeant. He's the number 2, and we all have an open door policy. I mean, these guys can come in and talk to us about anything, work related or not. So
It stays right there.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of has to.
Yep.
So, at what point in your career did you decide, I want to have a dog with me?
Probably 2000-ish, so 3 or 4 years after I started.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was just something that you said, I'd love to have a dog on board with me.
Bobby Ryan was a sergeant with the Barre City Police Department at the time. He's now the head canine trainer at the police academy. He's on dog number 6 or 7, maybe. He's had them for probably about as long as I've been alive. And I used to make special trips down to their police department just to play with this dog. And that's how it all started. And then he and I would go out and I would lay a track for him, or do things with him to help him train his dog. And it's the best thing that I've done in 23 years. And I've had lots of opportunities. I've been promoted 3 times. I've done the firearms instructor. I've done a little bit of the bike patrol. I've been a field training officer. The canine is absolutely the most rewarding thing that I have done. 16 years I had 2 dogs in
2 dogs.
2 dogs
in 16 years.
Yeah.
Wow, 8 apiece.
No, 10 and 6.
10 and
10
6
on the first dog, 6 on the second dog.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, who was the first dog?
Tinzer.
Okay.
Tinzer was, I got them both when they were puppies, 9 or 10 weeks old. Tinzer was donated from a lady in Williamstown with the purpose of becoming a police dog. He and I went to the patrol school, which again is at Pittsford. It's residential, so you stay down there 4 months to be trained in patrol.
Wow.
So, yeah, patrol is what we use. Well, drugs is what we use the most, unfortunately. But patrol is probably, the tracking is probably second. So that 4 months is tracking, building searches for bad guys, all the bite work, all obedience, evidence recovery, and that kind of stuff. Did
you ever get to work with the Vermont Canine Association at all?
Yep. All the handlers in Vermont are, and some from out of state. We actually have some from New Hampshire that come over here and train with us. So we're all members of the Canine Association. That's a nonprofit organization that provides equipment and so forth to handlers.
Sure.
Yep.
These vested interest in canines, the group that helps provide and distribute these bulletproof and stab-proof vests,
yep,
are amazing.
They
amazing
are.
People.
They are. My first dog, there wasn't a lot of. We didn't have a lot of know much about vested interest at the time. Back in 2002, I think, when I got him, he had a vest. Jim Morris, who used to own Classic Auto on East Montpelier Road, actually bought the vest for him. My second dog, Huey, got the vest from Vested Interest, free of cost. And I mean, you're talking
$1,000.
$1,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or more.
Or more.
for those vests.
Yeah. Specially fitted for them, and
Sure.
so yeah.
Wow. Yeah. What is it? A company, I think, down in Massachusetts that
Yep.
that makes them.
Yeah.
Incredible.
We have a lot. We usually hover somewhere around 45 dogs in the state, and most of our dogs have gotten vests through them now.
What happened to your first dog?
He got cancer around, a little over 9 years old, and it just wasn't going to get better.
Yeah.
My main concern was if I was going to get a second dog, which I swore I never would.
Of course.
Never would.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't want him to have to stop working. I didn't want Tinzer to have to stop working and stay home. He worked right up until the day that he passed.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's remarkable. I'm not sure the year that, when did Tinzer pass? Because it almost seems like I remember.
2012.
Okay, then I do remember Tinzer.
Yeah.
Then we have a second dog.
I have a second dog.
That you decided that you'd never get a. I mean, come on, how many of us have lost a dog and sworn that we never would get another one, and then plop, there they are on our lap. So what's the story with Huey?
So Tinzer passed 2012. I said never again will I ever do this. And I had a couple conversations with a very good friend of mine, Dave Dewey, who is a corporal in Colchester. He's on dog number 3 now. And I called him late one night, and I said, how do you know? How do you know if, and how do you know when? And he said, you'll know. Go ahead.
When to get another dog?
If it's right to get another dog, and if so, when should you get another dog?
Okay.
And he said, you'll know when, you'll know if, and you'll know when. And he said, people ask me what I do for a living, and I tell them I'm a canine handler. I don't tell them I'm a cop. I tell them I'm a canine handler. And so 4 months later, here comes Huey, another German Shepherd that the town purchased through Stronghold Shepherds in Wolcott. Fantastic dog. Just the big difference between him and Tinzer and I, like I said, we went to school at the academy. We actually went to the 4-month class. About 5 years into working with him, there's several different levels of instructor certification you can get. I decided that I wanted to get into teaching some of that stuff. So I got my certification to be an in-service instructor, which means after the 4 months of training, you're required to do a minimum of 16 hours a month training. So that means I can teach that here. So I teach that for some dogs in the local area, so we don't have to go to the academy. When I got Huey, being a small department who's always short-staffed, I actually trained him all myself. It was going to be really difficult for me to get back down to the academy for 4 months. So I went to the town, and we originally were going to buy a pre-trained dog, and I decided against that because I wasn't sure that I wanted to bring a 2-year-old dog into a house with 2 little girls that I didn't know. So,
yes. And how old were your kids then?
Oh boy, they would have been young, probably 2-ish, and yeah.
Wow.
So we bought Huey. Again, 9 or 10 weeks old, and I had gone to the town and said, this is what I want to do. And the manager, the select board, the manager, Chief Stevens, they were all, and have been ever since we started this program, super supportive. So the only thing the manager says to me is, if this is what we're going to do, at the end of it, you remember you promised us a certified dog. So we started training. The chief at the time had said, I'll give you 1 day a week to do nothing but canine training, and then the rest of it you do in between calls. So we took 1 day a week, we did training, and when we weren't busy doing calls on shifts and at home and so forth, we did the rest of our training, both for patrol and for drugs. And then we went to the academy, challenged both the exams, and passed both the drug certification and the patrol certification, and without ever having gone to any school down there.
Wow. That's remarkable.
Probably better than 600 hours worth of training that we put in. It took about a year.
So Huey was named after a helicopter.
Yes. So I'm a helicopter nut and very interested in the Vietnam War. Tinzer was named after a military dog that served in Vietnam. Huey is named after the Huey helicopter that made his debut in Vietnam. So
Yeah. Wow. About what, maybe 75, 80 pounds?
Yep. Yeah, just about 80 pounds.
Somewhere in there.
Yep.
So when I met you, one of the, I remember chatting with you on Facebook for the first time, asking if you would be interested in coming to Cause for Paws with Huey featured, and right away it seemed like we hit it off. And I knew at the first time that we had Cause for Paws together with Huey, that was going to be a match. And I was hoping that you'd be back, and you were, for a few more years, including the last one, which was a year ago. So you had to kind of brief me a little bit as to what to expect, because we were demoing a lot of different things. We were demoing drugs.
We did some drug work, yeah.
Some drug work, but also some, I don't know what you call it, some hostility.
we like to call it handler protection.
Handler protection, all right. Where I was getting rough with you when you told me to, and I think we did a brief thing where I hid.
You did. You
on
hid in
Huey.
something. I don't remember what it was.
I think it was a huge cardboard box.
Yeah.
And Huey found me, boy, and man, did he let me know that he found me too. That dog could make some noise. Holy crap!
Yeah, they both my dogs were, especially Huey. Huey liked to bark, and it's funny. They're just like people. Every one of them has a different personality. You never know just exactly what they're going to do. I swear he used to watch when we were in the car riding around. As soon as I picked up the microphone, he waited until I was just about ready to start talking, and then he'd bark.
Oh my God!
So it always, and the guys always joke. They said, "We can't hear you, but we can hear your dog." So yeah.
So dispatch would go crazy.
Sometimes, yeah, yeah, and they'd have to ask me to repeat it, and sometimes they'd hear me yelling at them to be quiet. Yeah.
Oh my God! Isn't
But
that something?
I've always said, I said it at every demo that I did. People ask, are they with you all the time? Do they go home with you at night and so on? And they do. They live with us. When we're home, they're pets. He played with my kids. He had a little kiddie pool that he played in. We went to get creamies. He went to get creamies. But there's no person that you could put in a car with me, or anybody, for 40 or 50 hours a week that you could still get along with that, day in and day out.
Absolutely.
And, it's what we're going on 8 months, almost 8 months now. And I still pull up to a red light and, turn around to look to see what he's doing in the back seat.
Yeah, I'm sure. And being a police officer, you're on duty, but you also have to take care of a dog. You have to make sure that they've got water, that they're not in the direct sun. I mean, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. There's a lot of really cool gadgets out there nowadays that a lot of departments had. We didn't all have them when I first started, in the early 2000s, but almost all the cars are set up with special cages. The back seat comes right out of the car. The dog has the whole back seat. It's all aluminum, so they're not falling when you're going around corners and so forth. Cages on the windows. Some of them have fans in the back that are mounted. Some of them have, we all had door poppers, so on our belt we could push a button and the back door would open up so the dog could come out if he needed to. Many of them have...
You had one of those.
I had one of those, yeah. Many of them have the ones where if the temperature reaches a certain degree, it either sends a message to your phone or your pager, puts down your windows, turns on the fan, honks your horn. so you know that the car's too hot and you need to go out and take care of your dog. Because there's been a fair number of incidents where the dogs have, been in the cars and it's too hot.
Well, if you're parked in someone's driveway, you're interviewing someone or what have you.
Yep.
Wow. Did you ever have to use that button that opens up your door automatically to let Huey go free?
I never did. Funny thing is, I had, when I first got it, like anything else, you're not used to using it. And there was actually a switch inside the car that you had to turn on to get power to it. And the one chance I probably had to use that, I was rolling around in the parking lot of a convenience store with a guy. And I'm pushing the button, and I had forgot to turn the power on inside the car. So,
You're kidding.
So he couldn't get out, but he wanted to. I had nose marks all over every window in the car.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Would Huey, when you were just driving around patrolling, what was Huey doing on a typical day? Was he sleeping in the back seat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He had a nice blanket laid out in the back. He had a water bottle or water bowl. My wife used to give me a hard time because we had 2 ice cube trays in our freezer.
Oh, jeez.
And when we left for work in the morning, he got every one of the ice cubes. So I emptied both the ice cube trays into his bowl and didn't leave any for anybody else. But yeah. So he had a big bowl of ice water in the back with a blanket, and he would lay down and sleep. If we stopped or if I put the window down or something, he would sit up and want to know what's going on. But just driving around, no, he slept all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen you so many times in different places where you've stopped for whatever reason. You're chatting with someone, and Huey's just, man, oh man, could you hear that dog bark?
He didn't like people next to the car.
Yeah, near the car,
Yeah,
right?
not at all.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was literally brought up to be protective of. Did he act the same way around your daughters and your wife?
No, he was a little friendlier to my daughters than my wife, but they would crawl over him and yank his ears and the things that kids do with dogs.
Sure.
And he would kind of look at me, and I'm not going to say he was happy about it.
Yeah.
But he just laid there and took it. Kind of gave me the look of, it'll be over in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we did with Cause for Pause, the demos that we had done in front of the public with Huey, he was not the hardest hitting dog for me anyway, but still he had jaws on him that were just massive.
Yes.
I mean, really big mouth.
Yeah, neither of my dogs were real hard
hitters, yeah.
But I always said, especially with Huey, he just, I don't want to say, he just looked a little mean.
He did.
And, all black.
Yeah.
Big white teeth.
Big ears sticking up.
Big ears sticking up. And a loud bark, like you said. So that oftentimes works to our advantage.
Sure.
The goal is not to have my dog bite you.
Right.
My goal is for you not to do something where he's justified in biting you.
Of course.
So, funny story, when I first got Tinzer, he was probably 3 or 4 months old. We knew he was going to be a police dog. He was just too small at that point. And I had talked to the chief, and I said, can he start coming to work with me? Obviously, I can't use him for anything, but can he start coming to work with me? Get used to riding in the car, the lights, the sirens, that kind of stuff. And he begrudgingly agreed with the understanding that I would go home at 9 o'clock or so at night and pick him up, and he would ride with me for the last 3 hours or so of the shift. What I heard him say was, as soon as he goes home, meaning the chief, I could go get my dog.
Interesting. Interesting.
So, I pushed the envelope a little bit, but I would go pick him up at 5 or 6. And we had gotten called to assist the city with a big fight. Supposed to be 15 or 20 people involved. It's dark out. I've got the window down in the back of the car 6 inches, and we pull up, and he's barking like crazy. And everybody stops fighting because they thought, oh my gosh, the dog's here. He's going to kick some butt if he needs to. If I had gotten him out of the car and they saw a 30-pound, 3-month-old shepherd, they probably would have laughed.
Right.
But he served his purpose.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
Wow. I remember you telling me, I think the first time that we did a demo with Huey, I remember you saying, "Don't worry, he knows what he's doing. This is training for him. He's not gonna bite down too hard." But I also remember interviewing you in front of the crowd, and you saying that he can adjust his bite drastically if need be. Trust me, whatever it is that you're doing, you're going to stop when this dog starts biting you.
Huey never had any real bites, working the road. Tinzer had probably 4 or 5
Wow.
in his 10 years. But you can definitely, they know, like you said, I don't know if you remember, but anytime Huey was biting the sleeve, his tail's wagging.
Yeah.
So it's all fun for him.
Yes.
They know the difference between that and somebody who's not being good.
Sure.
Yeah.
I also remember this dog, and I can't remember his name, down in Rutland. State police officer down there. Wow, I can't remember the dog's name. A smaller dog, but
The
Cole
Cole is from Middlesex.
or Middlesex.
Krista, Trooper
Yes,
Maurice.
Krista.
Yeah.
And then there was another. What was Rutland?
I don't think Rutland was there. Alex Comtois was there.
Yep, Contois.
And
And then there was another one. It started with a D. Last name a D.
Sergeant Roos was there for one of them.
Yeah. Joe Duca.
Joe Duca was
Duca.
there. Yes, with his Malmo.
With his dog. But Cole, holy crap.
Yeah.
That was a hard-hitting dog.
The thing about Cole is he can go and bite a bad guy, and he has, and I've seen pictures. It's not pleasant. And then turn around and walk into a kindergarten classroom.
Cole can.
Yeah. He has got the greatest temperament.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
They when I was doing my demo with you with Huey, it was an arm and shoulder sleeve. But when they brought out Cole, they put me in a full bodysuit because somebody told me, it might have been you. This dog is unpredictable. Could go for a leg, could go for an arm, could change it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the dogs get focused on the sleeve. He just gets focused on the task at hand.
Yeah. And I remember saying, I think I said to Krista, I was astonished at how hard Cole was hitting me. But I think it was Krista that I said, this time, when you let him go, I'm going to turn and run the opposite direction with my back to the dog. And she was like, good luck. And she let him go, and he got about halfway to me, full speed, and I turned the other way and started running. And he dove and got me around the midsection and just dropped me. Mm-hmm. We're talking about a dog that's under 100 pounds, mm-hmm. and I'm 200 pounds. And he dropped me like a hot potato. I came right down to the ground. Yeah. And then he got me on, I was face down on the floor of the BOR arena, and he got me on the back of my thigh, and he started to pull me. And I was dragging across the floor, and I don't know did you ever hear about what happened? The vest, the bodysuit that I was wearing, came up over my face because he was dragging me.
So left a gap.
Yeah, it left a gap. It came up over my face, and my eyes were open, and it tore my cornea.
Oh, no kidding! I hadn't heard that at all.
Have you ever done that?
No.
Holy crap! Is that pain? That's some pain. But
I bet.
Yeah. So we were in the emergency room for a little while, just a lot of pain. But as I said to Sherilyn, I'm like, this is just. If anybody has half a sense, and they're on the hide, or they're on the go, just forget about it. it's over. If you start hearing dogs barking, it's over.
Yeah, it's usually
You're done.
it's one end of the spectrum. I've had several people that Tinser bit, and I always had the same series of questions I asked them at the end. Did you hear the dog barking? Yes, I did. Did you hear me tell you to stop or the dog was going to bite you? Yes, I did. Then why did you not stop? Well, I didn't think he was going to bite me.
Wow.
So, but we also had a call one night in Montpelier. There was two people, I think they had broken into the old Brown Derby or something along those lines. And they had one in custody, the other one had fled on foot, or so they thought. So they called looking for a dog. 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I went down, got out of the car, and I was talking to one of the sheriff's officers there, who was telling me what was going on. And of course, Tinder's in the car barking because there's people next to the car. Next thing you know, this guy pops up from behind the snowbank. I'm right here, don't let the dog out. So, he gave up. I never got the dog out of the car. I just turned around, I said, my work here is done.
Wow.
And got in the car and left. So some people were smart, some were not so much.
Had you ever had anyone try to injure or fight back against Huey or Tinser?
I never did, no.
Yeah.
We take some certain precautions because it's not getting better in Vermont, but we're certainly not as bad off as other places by any means. So we learn from what everybody else, happens to everybody else, such as doing a building search. Now we take the collars off the dogs before we let them go. Or let me back up. Now we actually do a lot of them on lead, but before we just let the dog do their business. We would take the collar off because people were choking them. People were choking them with their collars. So, yeah.
That's actually happened. You've that's unbelievable.
Yep.
I mean, I can't even fathom that. What happened to Huey? I think some of us know by reading in the paper the brief story of what happened. But I can say, like so many of us in this community, I think that there was some great shock because Huey just was so young and so strong and so active, and then all of a sudden we lost Huey. I know it was some type of accident involving his back, but I don't think the paper said much more than that.
Yeah, I didn't put out a whole lot of information, partially because it was difficult, partially because we didn't know, and I'm not sure that we still know. Eric Blaisdell did call me, and he was fantastic. He wanted to do a story. I said, I need a couple days, and he said, take all the time you need. But the short story is, and you're right, he was 6. 6 years old, and he was, he run.
Strong as an ox.
Yeah, I mean, no physical problems with him whatsoever. Nothing. Had never been injured, and like I said, very, very active. I left my house around 5:30 or so the morning prior to. I actually went to the governor's school safety conference in Burlington. Left him home. Got a call from my wife, 10:30, 11 o'clock, saying something's going on with him. He's in some kind of pain. I'm not sure what's going on. I said, okay, we'll just keep an eye on him and let me know. She called back a half hour later and said, something's really wrong here. So I left, came home, took him to our vet here locally. She took some x-rays, couldn't find anything. Thought maybe it was a pinched nerve or a pulled muscle or something along those lines. Gave us some medication and said he could walk, barely. Couldn't get in and out of the car, couldn't get up and down stairs. Said keep an eye on him and, let's touch base tomorrow. So we made a bed on the living room floor and laid there all night long. I got up the next morning at 5:30. He couldn't move his back legs at all. I said, okay, I'll take him outside. It was wintertime, November. I'll take him outside, to go to the bathroom. He'll be fine. Once we get outside and he gets in the snow, he'll stand up and everything will be fine. Took him outside, set him down in the snow. Couldn't move. Brought him back inside. Called a very good friend of mine, Paul Howard, who owned Vermont Veterinary Surgical Center.
Wow, man, you and I have so many incredible similarities
You know
with our
Doc Howard?
stories. Oh,
He is top notch.
wow.
Called Doc Howard because he does a lot of work for the police dogs in Vermont. That's kind of his thing. So he doesn't have his business anymore. He told me that I needed to take him to Pattersonville, New York. So loaded up the car, drove the 3.5 hours to Pattersonville. I'm a pessimist, and I'll tell you that right up front.
Hope for the best, plan for the worst.
And I'm talking to both my wife and my mom on the ride over, on Bluetooth, of course, and I said he's not coming home. I just know it. So we got there. He did some tests. Probably one of the worst things I've ever seen was, him taking basically a pair of pliers, putting them on his foot, squeezing, and he didn't move at all. He didn't flinch. So he said we can do surgery. We might find out what's wrong with him. We might not. We might be able to fix it. We might not. He might be able to be a house pet. He might not. What do you do? I mean, he lived to work. He had a great nose. He loved tracking. So
you had to, without your wife sitting next to you, you had to make the decision on your own.
Yeah, there was nobody there with me. I wish there was. But I talked to her on the phone. I was talking to my wife on the phone, and so she was a part of it too. Part of the decision too. And,
So it's interesting to hear you say, Huey was a work dog, and with that, I think that you're implying that he lived to work, and he would have been happiest if he could have continued to do what he did every day and loved to do. He wasn't the kind of dog that just lying around all the time wearing a diaper.
The Thursday night races in the summertime. It wasn't a good idea for me to have him there. He would end up spending a lot of time in the car. So I would either try and run him home before the races, or my wife would meet me halfway and she would take him home. And she would say, she'd call me sometimes, or she would tell me when I got home, he's such a jerk when you're not here. He's every time he hears something, he's looking out the window, or he sits at the door, sits at the window, waiting for you. So he absolutely would have not been happy at home. No.
Yeah. And you knew that.
Mm-hmm.
You knew that, which maybe made the decision a little bit easier.
Yeah, and again, Doc Howard, he, it's like when you take your car to the mechanic. When you find a mechanic that you trust to work on your car, that's where you go. And if they tell you need something, then that's what you do.
Yep.
Doc Howard talked with the doctor in Pattersonville,
mm-hmm.
and and I asked Doc. I said, I need you to tell me, is it time? And same question I asked him with Tinsler.
Yeah.
So,
Buddy, my dog that I had for 16 years, Black Lab Shepherd mix, jumped off the bed in 2000, doesn't matter. I want to say 2002, 2003, somewhere in there. Hit the hardwood floor and slipped and threw a disc or pinched a nerve or something, herniated a disc, and instantly was kind of partially paralyzed from the back, hips down. Couldn't stand up, could only sit. Pick him up, and his body weight would just quickly sag right to the ground. And I'll never forget it. When you go through a trauma like that, it's just something that just becomes part of your soul, part of your DNA. It stays with you forever. I can see it just like a movie playing in my mind. And I had brought him to a local vet at the time, and they said, yeah, he needs surgery on his spine, and you've got to bring him to the best, who does canine spine surgery, specialist Paul Howard. So we ran up to his Colchester clinic up there, and I just remember so well him saying, we know exactly what the problem is. I've seen this before, and he says, 50-50. I said, 50-50 what? And he said, 50% chance that he'll be able to walk. And I said, what about climbing mountains? Because that's what we always did. We're always hiking everywhere. Climb Camel's Hump every year. And he said, probably 90% that he won't be doing mountains. 50%, if you're lucky, he'll be walking, and that's that. And he said, if you're really lucky, he'll have a little trot in his step. And Buddy came out of that surgery, and his whole back was shaved up and had a 18-inch zipper up his back. And within I don't know, a month, he was running around the backyard, and I think it was that next spring that we climbed Camel's Hump. And God, I remember it so well, and did remarkably well. He did worse climbing Camel's Hump when he blew out his cruciate, his ACL, and we had to have that repaired. But I remember Paul Howard saying to me, this is going to run you right around $3,000. And I was like, well worth the 50% odds. And then he said, you got to pay for it up front beforehand.
So I probably shouldn't tell you this story then.
How many things did you sell out of your garage like me? I sold kayaks and mountain bikes real fast.
I took Tinzer, I think it was. He had something happen to him very similar, where he was paralyzed in his back legs, and if I recall correctly, they said it was something along the lines of a piece of bone chipped off and was pinching a nerve. And we did physical therapy, walking through the rungs of a ladder, swimming every morning. But nonetheless, I never got a bill from Doc Howard.
Whoa!
Never got a bill, and I called him and said, I haven't got your bill yet. I'll get it to you. And I said, okay. I can say this now because he doesn't have his own business anymore. Otherwise, people will be calling him.
Of course.
So I'll get it to you. And I never saw it. I waited a couple months more, and I called him and I said, Paul, I still don't have your bill. And you know what his answer was? We switched to a new computer system. I don't even have that anymore. It never billed me.
Interesting.
And it wasn't, he had still has a special place in his heart for the police dogs, and he has done more stuff for us that I can't even begin to tell you.
Wow.
Because at the time, my canine budget, my entire canine budget for the year was about $2,000. And 800 or 900 of that was for food.
Yeah.
So
Right.
and then you have the $200 for flea and tick medication and
Of course,
heartworm
easily.
and so on and so forth. So by the time it all sugars off, you have $300 or $400 for vet bills. And like you said, when you get a $3,000 bill, you're thinking, that's more than I have for everything.
Yeah.
Again, though, the town was really, really good on some of the stuff that we did have bills for, and they never complained.
How long's it been since Huey's been gone?
7, 8, almost 8 months.
8 months.
Yeah,
Quiet in the car.
very.
Too quiet?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are we saying now to your wife and to your kids and to your friends and your colleagues? What's the
What am I saying, or what are they saying?
what are they all saying? What's the chatter about? Is there, And I'll say this: I sometimes, respectfully, I think that when we lose an animal, there's people that put pressure on us to hurry up and get another one, as that is the solution to mending your heart, which is most definitely not always the case. Most definitely not. And I've been guilty of that myself. We like to help others heal and run out and get them another dog or another cat, another companion animal as quickly as possible. There will never be anything even close to another buddy. Period. I'm sure you feel the same way about Huey. Huey was no Tinzer.
No.
Tinzer was no Huey.
No, it's like I said, they're just like people. They have their own personalities. They have their own strengths, their own weaknesses. With Huey, with Tinzer, if I told him to do something, I told him once, and he did it. And I even had him trained where we would stop 5 or 6 times a night and just play with the 15 different toys that he had in the trunk of the cruiser. And when I said it's time to go, pick up your toys, I had him trained where he would pick the toy up, he'd go over to the back of the car, put his feet up, drop it in the trunk, go get another one. So he picked up all his own toys. But I told him once, and he did it. With Huey, I would tell him, and he wouldn't even look at me. And I'd tell him again, and he might glance my way. And when I got within 5 feet, where he knew I meant business, he'd look at me like, "Oh, are you talking to me?" But when it came to tracking, hands down, Huey was a fantastic tracking dog, fantastic drug dog. They'll never be one that will replace either of them.
So do I dare ask you if it's even crossed your mind?
Yeah, you can ask. Everybody else does.
I'm sure they do. Is this something that has even crossed your mind, or is it just for now you're still in a pause and you'd rather not even really answer that question?
No, it's fine.
Because it frustrated the hell out of me that people were asking me that all the time. So that's why I'm saying to you, if you don't want to answer that, that's fine.
No,
I get it.
if you'd asked me 2 days later, I might have told you something different. But I've had a lot of people. I still get asked, almost daily, if I have a new dog yet, when I'm getting a new dog. And there's a few people that have said the same thing, that maybe it's not a good idea. So yes, it crosses my mind every day. And like I said, there's nothing that has hands down been the most enjoyable, most rewarding, hardest part of my entire career so far. I think, to be fair, maybe to the dog, I drive a desk nowadays most of the time. So, of my 8 or 9 hour day, I'm in the office, 90% of it. And that was the way that it was, towards the end with Huey too. But he was fine. He laid on the floor and he was fine. But, it got to the point with all my administrative duties that I had to tell myself, you need to get up and get out of the office and go do something with the dog because it's not fair to him. So, my wife wants a dog. My kids want a dog. I want a dog too. But I'm not sure that, maybe a pet. I don't know. A working dog, I'm not sure that it makes a whole lot of sense for me to have one. We're going to have one. We're definitely going to have one at the police department. It just might not be me. And I said to the budget committee and the select board this year when I did my budget request, I said, you'll notice that the canine section of the budget is all zeroed out. Don't get used to it. And I walked out, so they know. And like I said, they are super supportive. And there's, I have Leo DePrato, who works for us. He looks like he's 12. He's not, but he looks very young. He has an interest. I think he would do really good. He needs to get a little more time on. You have to have 3 years experience before you can actually go to the school with a dog.
Wow.
So, I've toyed with everything from no, I'm not going to get one, to yes, I'm going to get one, to maybe I'll get one and do tracking and drugs, and then I'll work it until he's ready to get one for him.
Sure.
So I guess the best answer I can give you is, I don't know.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
Fair enough.
Maybe.
Chief Dodge, our special guest this time around on Aired Out on this Monday afternoon. You will definitely see him in the community. Please extend your hand and thank him for his service, and as well as his dog, Huey, who's no longer with us. Chief Dodge, this time around, again, on Aired Out. Thanks to Fontaine Forestry and Millworks on Route 14, just below Bragg Farm, our presenting sponsor. They'll get it done for you, no matter if it's rough cut or planed. They'll do it all. It doesn't matter what you're building. Fontaine Forestry and Millworks. Mark Fontaine and family over there, our presenting sponsor. Also, yourvoyageplanner.com. Donna Sherman, the travel specialist, amazing lady, your land and cruise expert. CBDcrave.com, Chris Dagnese and company. Peak Entertainment, Donnybrook Fight Promotions, all of our fantastic sponsors, along with FGB Theaters, the Capitol Showplace Theater and the Paramount Theater in Barre, where we have Yesterday that's coming up real soon. We're going to be there on the 27th, broadcasted live. We'll catch you next time. I'm J.D. Green. Thanks to CVTV, Tony Campos, and Abubakar at Central Vermont Television. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.